Why is the Department of Homeland Security engaged in a massive arms buildup? The DHS has recently purchased over 2 billion rounds of ammunition and almost 3,000 armored vehicles plus riot gear. The mainstream media has predictably responded to the controversy by, well, dismissing the concerns of U.S. citizens as paranoia, or by simply ignoring the staggering amount of ammo purchases altogether. The massive purchasing and stockpiling of ammunition by the DHS can only be a red alert warning that the federal agency is planning on waging a massive war with the American people. And with us now is former political prisoner and veteran of the Black Panther Party, Larry Pinkney. Larry, welcome to the show. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you so much. You know, it's a pleasure and an honor.
So what do you make of all this? I mean, do you think that the DHS, are they planning for some sort of Red Dawn-style invasion from another country, or are they preparing for massive civil unrest and a potential war with the American people?
I think it's crystal clear that it's the latter. I think it's crystal clear, frankly, Darren, that the reality is that the Department of Homeland Security, under the direction, of course, of drone man Barack Obama, is stockpiling ammunition and/or weapons to protect the U.S. government, not the people, not the U.S. citizens, not the American people. I think that's crystal clear. They're not doing this because it's howdy-doody time. They're doing this because they do obviously feel that they need to prepare for a rebellion. And that rebellion is and will come from the people, black, white, brown, red, and yellow people of the United States of America.
Well, to put it into perspective, during the height of the Iraq War, the U.S. Army was using less than 6 million rounds of ammunition a month. And, so 2 billion rounds would be enough for the DHS to sustain a war for 20-plus years in America. And let's take a look at some of these purchases. 200 million rounds of .223 rifle ammunition, 176,000 rounds of .308 caliber hollow point rounds, 450 million rounds of .40 caliber hollow point bullets. They're buying, all kinds of riot gear. They have bulletproof checkpoint booths that have stop-and-go lights, and almost 3,000 heavily armored personnel carriers. These are the same MRAPs that are used in Iraq and Afghanistan, this time for service on the streets of America. And for those of us who are questioning the DHS arms purchases, anybody who out there is questioning it, they are calling us paranoid. And Larry, I think it was you, I heard you once say that just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean it ain't happening.
That's correct. And the reality is that, of course, as you said earlier in your introduction, the corporate stream media is playing its insidious role of dismissing these very real and necessary concerns. Or I should say, or they are saying, oh, it's no big deal, or they're just omitting it altogether, which they do on a regular, frequent basis. So the fact of the matter is, and I say it again, just because we're paranoid does not mean it's not happening. Folks, we need to be aware. We need to be conscious. We need to understand that when organizations such as the U.S. government and in this case the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, when they stockpile ammunition and weapons, they are doing it with a purpose in mind. They are doing it with an objective in mind. This is not being done, as I said, for howdy-doody time. This is not being done to protect the United States, the people of the United States, from some kind of invasion. This, in fact, is in preparation of an invasion by the U.S. government against the people of the United States.
Well, that's right. And let's be clear, the DHS does not fight wars overseas. They are a domestic agency with domestic responsibilities. And we're not the only so-called paranoid people out there asking questions. In fact, retired decorated Army Captain Terry Hestelow, he says the Obama administration's recent appropriation of weapons is a bold threat of war against the citizens of the United States of America. He says Americans need to prepare and defend themselves against the Obama administration's coup against the American people. So more and more people are looking at these weapons and ammunition purchases and demanding answers. And, you know, I couldn't help but think how here we have the Department of Homeland Security purchasing 2 billion rounds of ammunition. We're supposed to be crazy conspiracy theorists for asking questions. Yet if you and I, if we were to go out and let's say purchase, oh, I don't know, 2 or 3 dozen boxes of ammo for ourselves, we would suddenly become potential terrorists, or we'd become a terrorist threat. And just like the Black Panther Party back in the day, they didn't call you guys terrorists. They said you were revolutionaries. And I've got a quote from J. Edgar Hoover, and I'm sure you've probably heard this before. J. Edgar Hoover back in the day said, "The Negro youth must be made to understand that if they succumb to revolutionary teachings, they will be dead revolutionaries." And Larry Pinckney, unfortunately, you are all too familiar with how the federal government treats so-called revolutionaries, or anyone else for that matter, who they see as a possible threat.
Yes, and the reality is I would take this officer's comment, this general, what was his name again?
It was retired Lieutenant Hestelow.
Hestelow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's a retired Army captain from the U.S. Army.
Okay, I would take retired Captain Hesselow's comment one step further. He's correct that it, in fact, is what DHS under Obama is doing is certainly a threat. But I would take it to say that it's one step further to say that, in fact, the actions of the Department of Homeland Security under Drone Man Barack Obama are, in fact, an active, keyword, active preparation for what this government is planning, this corporate-owned government is planning against the American people. It does not take a rocket scientist to understand that.
Well, I totally agree with you, and I'm going to switch gears for a second because I wanted to talk about, I enjoy reading your contributions to the Intrepid Report and the Black Commentator, blackcommentator.com. And recently, last week was the 45th anniversary of the U.S. government-sponsored assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. Barack Obama, he's done nothing to bring about the true story of Dr. King's assassination. And just like the murder of JFK or Bobby Kennedy, the Martin Luther King assassination, it's been covered up by the power elite and the controlled mainstream media. But you wrote in your latest article that we need to embrace the everyday people's stories and reject the top-down narratives of history. I was wondering if you can get into that for us.
Well, all I meant by that, because I like to read, I like to write in plain, simple, straightforward language, not all this intellectual masturbation, just straightforward. But all I meant by that was that the narrative, that is to say the story that we get from the U.S. government, its institutions, including the corporate stream media, that is a narrative put forth to the people of this nation and world, for that matter, that is absolutely inaccurate, and it is weighted in favor of the corporate stream media. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're coming through pretty good. Okay. And I was just thinking, you're absolutely correct. There's no way we could rely on the official government account of history. The mainstream media is obviously a total fraud and controlled by the corporate elite. And the school system. I mean, the school system is not going to teach an accurate account of history as well. So I'm curious, how do you plan on preserving the historical account of the Black Panther Party, for example? How can we be sure that future generations have an accurate historical account of the Black Panthers?
I intend to not only continue writing in various publications, but I make it a point to speak directly with black, white, brown, red, and yellow people of all backgrounds and both genders, to get them to understand that the narrative, not only as it relates to the Black Panther Party, but as it relates to the American Indian movement, the Student for Democratic Society, La Raza Unida, I can go on and on and on, but I'm talking about the movement of everyday people. I intend to continue to keep putting it out there and have direct contact with the people. Now, I know that upsets the government, the corporate-owned government. It upsets these jive-time, half-stepping, lying politicians, Democrat and Republican, but so be it. Our struggle has to be about each other, you know, not Goldman Sachs, okay, not the narrative or story, if you will, of the people who have been oppressing us, and when I say oppressing, I mean exploiting us economically, politically, and socially, keeping us divided, keeping us in fear of each other, keeping us powerless. I intend to continue getting this information out until the day I die. And I say, I say now, as we said back in the day, all power to the people.
That's right, and the struggle does continue, and they did everything they could to destroy the Black Panther Party. You know, your activities were disrupted. You're demonized by the mainstream media. A lot of you guys were thrown in prison, wrongfully accused. You yourself, Larry, you know, a victim of COINTELPRO and a political prisoner for 10+ years. A lot of you guys were murdered, but ideas are bulletproof, and the ideas continue, and the hopes and the aspirations of the Black Panther Party still live on. Larry Pinckney, closing comments.
I just want to thank you, the crew there at Infowars.com, Alex Jones Show. Darren, I just want to thank all of you for the great, necessary, important work that you're doing. It is imperative that we intensify in our struggle. It is imperative that we get over our little minor differences. We have more in common than we do not have. In other words, we have more to work together for than to work against each other for. Thank you again. Love and strength to all of you. All power to the people.
All right, well, Larry, thanks once again. Look forward to having you visit Austin, Texas in person next month. And I encourage everybody to check out the Intrepid Report, blackcommentator.com. Larry Pinckney is a very talented writer, and you can tell right here he's a gifted speaker as well. And we look forward to having you back on sometime in the near future.
Thank you so much, and take care and be strong.
All right, there's one of my favorite guests on the show, and, you know, that guy's the real deal. And Larry Pinckney will be traveling to Austin, Texas sometime early next month, and we'll get a chance to interview him once again live, this time in studio. So certainly looking forward to that. Hey, that's going to do it for tonight's broadcast. The InfoWars Nightly News will return, Lord willing, tomorrow evening, 7:00 p.m. Central Time, Texas time, that is. Until then, have a blessed evening, and we'll see you back right here tomorrow. Good night. I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com. Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and come and take it on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller Come and Take It t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the Don't Tread on Me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired like I am of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the Pro One high-performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants. So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.